Baik Ibu dan Bapak, kita akan mulai webinar sekarang. Mohon kamera dibuka semua. Terima kasih. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us today and welcome to the Financial Development to Lessen Poverty and Income Inequality session. Without any further ado, please welcome our chair, Mrs. Esther Sriastuti, to open the session. Mrs. Esther Astuti, the screen is yours.
Yeah, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Before we start presentation, and in order to avoid any disturbances during the presentation, so I would like to ask you to mute your speaker during the presentation. Yeah, of course, except the speaker. And the honorable speakers, we will have three honorable speakers. First is Mr. Media Wahyudi Askar, PhD. He is a researcher at INDEF and also lecturer at Gajah Mada University. And the second speaker is Prof. Didinda Maduri. He is also a founder of INDEF, and he is a professor economics from IPB University. His expertise are political economics, economic developments, and industrial economics. And our last speaker, but not least, is Professor Dr. Bambang Juanda. He is also a professor economics at IPB University. His expertise are in experimental economics, fiscal decentralization, and economic developments, also as well as public financial management. So without further ado, I would like to welcome all of you. Also, I would like to welcome our first presenter, Mr. Media Wahyudi. He will deliver a presentation entitled Financial Literacy and Poverty Transmission Mechanism. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Media. The floor is yours. Please.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Mbak Esa. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm really honored to be here today, to be honest. My name is Media Wahidi Askar. As Mbak Esa explained before, I hold a BA in Public Policy and Management from Gajah Mada University, and I finished my PhD from Manchester. And I'm currently doing a research on financial literacy, financial inclusion, poverty and inequality, especially in the context of developing country. So that's my background, and I would like to thank the organizer for inviting me and organizing this event. I welcome all the panelists and especially honorable speaker, Prof. Didin and Prof. Bambang and also Mas Rusli. I'm glad I have a chance to learn a lot from you today. And I welcome all the participants of this conference. Very happy to stay here to discuss about this topic. Let me share the screen. Right, so in today's presentation, I'd like to present my work, especially on the link between financial literacy and poverty. So as we may know, in a risky and globalized financial market, people must be able to make a well-informed financial decision. We have to bear in mind that everything has changed. Financial system has developed rapidly. Labor market has changed. And let's say if you don't have a degree, you will find it difficult to get a decent job. But the problem is we need some amount of money to get the degree. And some of us may borrow money to attend the school. And surely we need an ability to manage this money properly. So we need to know the basic concept that affect our financial decision. So this is the big question that I'm going to answer today. How much do people know about financial concepts? Are we financially literate? And what is the link between financial literacy and poverty? Let's have a look what literature has said. So basically, until now, much uncertainty still exists, especially the way in which financial literacy should reduce poverty. And the theoretical literature suggests that financial literacy affects poverty via a number of channels, namely saving, financial usage, and over-indebtedness. So this is the research contribution. And first of all, I would like to critically assess the evidence and validity of the theories and to develop an analytical framework of the channels from financial literacy to poverty based on the existing literatures. And I would like to contribute to the literature as well by employing a new empirical methodology, especially to analyze the indirect effect of financial literacy on poverty. So first of all, what does it really mean about financial literacy? So because the financial literacy concept is quite broad, and it appears that financial literacy is often related to or overlapping with several disciplines. So there is no single definition of financial literacy so far. So as you can see here, Engelbrecht and also Adin, for example, describe financial literacy definition in a different way. But basically, what literature has said, financial literacy is more about the ability to read, the ability to evaluate, and to communicate financial decision, especially to improve financial well-being. So this is what the literature has said. First of all, financial literacy improves savings, and at the end of the day, the more saving we have a chance to escape poverty. And then also there is a lot of literature indicates that people with a different level of financial literacy may behave differently towards the usage of financial services. For example, they can handle debts better, and also they can handle financial trouble in a more appropriate way. And during COVID-19 pandemic, for example, we know that everyone has a huge issue regarding the financial issue. And then the literature has said that as long as we have financial literacy, we know how to calculate interest rate, for example, we are not going to have a problem. We are not going to end up having a huge debt with pinjol, for example. And in the context of rural area, for example, at this moment, there are a lot of tengkulak. In Indonesia, we call it tengkulak, bank rontok, and also sometimes in a rural area, we can also find BNI 46, BNI 46. We can pay 4 and we repaid 6, something like that. So we have to pay more interest rate by using this tengkulak or informal money lender. So this is what literature have said. As long as we have financial literacy skills, we have a chance to escape poverty. So this is the conceptual framework. And this is the methodology that I use to estimate the correlation between financial literacy and poverty. So I use 3 SLS. I use 3 LSS for a number of reasons, because we know that there is endogeneity issue, and then 3SLS allows us to take into account the endogeneity issue by calculating all the relevant variables together so that we have a chance to reduce omitted variable bias and also measurement error. And so this is the data that I use. I use a Financial Inclusion Insights 2014, and there's the number of variable measurement. I use poverty, saving, financial usage, over indebtedness, and financial literacy as the main variable. I also control for gender, age, and some socioeconomic characteristic of the respondent. So here is the result. Here's the summary of the channel effects. So as you can see here, there are three equations. So the first one is the poverty regression with the three main channels. And the channels are included to see the link of each channel on poverty. So as you can see here, the results suggest that there is a significant correlation between financial literacy and the use of financial services, and this kind of financial services help the people to escape poverty. And the results also implies that savings and over indebtedness play a significant role as the main link between financial literacy and poverty. And here is, I also run a number of robustness checks, especially to estimate whether the results remain significant if we use a different type of equation. And I also run sensitivity analysis to avoid measurement issues. So I also use alternative poverty measurement and some of the alternative channel measurement. So here is the results. I think I'm not gonna find more. I'm not gonna spend more time on this, but basically the results suggest that the link between financial literacy and poverty is robust, and the results remain significant even though we use a different type of equation, different poverty measurement. So in this case, I use alternative poverty measurement, which is probability of poverty index as a measure of poverty, and the results remain the same. And I also use a number of different channels to estimate whether the results remain significant. I use finance activity as another proxy for financial access, intention to save as a proxy for saving ratio, and also cross borrowing as an alternative channel measurement for over indebtedness. And again, the results remain significant. So here is the conclusion of my study. First of all, it is suggested that an empirical study of financial literacy transmission mechanism enrich the existing literature to express deep concern about the indirect effect of financial literacy. And financial literacy affect poverty via a number of channels, which is saving, financial services or financial usage, and also by avoiding over indebtedness. And again, the results are robust to most changes in specification, different method, and different variable measurement. I think that's all, Maesa. Welcome all your constructive feedback and question. It will be really helpful to improve the quality of my work.
Yeah, thank you, mass media, for the nice presentation. So the conclusion is we have the impact, the relation between financial literacy and the poverty. So so we would like to go through the second presentation, So please welcome Prof. Didin Damahuri for our second presenter. So Prof. Didin Damahuri will deliver a presentation entitled Rent-Seeking and Corruption Behavior in Regional Development of Pandeglang District. Please welcome Prof. Didin Damahuri, because Mr. Rusli has just immediately send deliver a message that he is ill, yeah, because he got a fever. So please welcome Prof. Didin Damahuri. The floor
Thank
is
you.
yours now.
Okay, thank you, Mbak Esa. I would like to correct my title, not in the Pandeglang area, but in the Jakarta province. Let me to share screen. Slide, my slide is there. Mbak Esa?
Yeah.
It's
Okay,
okay?
Prof.
Okay. Thank you for all the audience. My title of the presentation is the phenomenon of rent-seeking and corruption in DKI Jakarta Province. Jakarta Province for the 2012 and 2011, 17 period. In this table, we see that how the CPI of Indonesia between Asian countries, and then the other hand is progress of the CPI in Indonesia in national level. If we see the background of the profession of the corruptor, we see that the most frequent coming from the private sector. The second one is coming from the regional development, regional government, and the third one coming from the member of parliament. Related to the background of the agency, we can see that the actor of the corruption coming from ministerial, and the second one coming from the government regional, included the Jakarta province. Why DKI Jakarta province choose and object the research? Jakarta province is a province that is also the center of the government and economy in Indonesia. This is reinforced by law number of the 29 2007 concerning the provincial government of the Special Capital Region of Jakarta, the unitary state of the Republic of Indonesia. With this law, the provincial government of Jakarta has a very broad authority, even reaching the administrative city district cover. Therefore, there is a potential that trigger certain element to carry out a corrupt practice in Jakarta provincial government. Based on data from the Corruption Eradication Commission, Jakarta province has the highest number of corruption crime, gratification, and public compare of the other province. This is a progress of the CPI according to Transparency International Indonesia survey represent not Jakarta, because in the level of the province there are no result of the survey of the corruption. Research question is primarily how did the process of the rent-seeking economic activity and corruption behavior occur in Jakarta province? The second one, what are the factors of the cause rent-seeking economic activity and corruption behavior in Jakarta province? The third one, which sectors are indicated by the behavior of the rent-seeking economic activity and corruption behavior in Jakarta province? And finally, what is the estimated potential for economic growth loss in Jakarta due to rent-seeking economic activity and corruption behavior? The research method is a combination qualitative and quantitative method. Corruption mechanism in Jakarta province. Corruption mechanism in Jakarta province discuss the mechanism of discuss in several cases in Jakarta province which have permanent legal force. We can call inkrah in the period 2012 to 2017. Several cases will be discussed, namely the case of the procurement of Transjakarta buses. The second one, cases of the self-management activity in the public work, Sub-Department of Water Management, Central Jakarta Administration. And the third one, bribery mechanism in the discussion of the report concerning the zoning plan for coastal zone and small island of Jakarta province, we can call reclamation. The fourth one, UPS procurement case in regional budget. And the fifth one, the gratification that occur in Jakarta province. This is the sequence of the case of the corruption in Jakarta bus case. The total state loss of the case of the Jakarta bus procurement case more than 500 billion. In this one, describe how case self-management activities in administration public water management. There are 6 sequence how the corruption did in Jakarta province. The state loss of the activities in Central Jakarta City Administration for water management nearly 30 billion. In this case, is related to bribery mechanism in discussion of the concerning reclamation. We can call favor in reclamation. This is the process how the bribery mechanism. There are 7 sequence how the bribery did in Jakarta province. In this case, case of uninterruptible power supply procurement in the regional budget. There are 4 sequence in the corruption case in the UPS procurement. And state loss totally more than 160 billion. And then gratification. An example, large gratification case in Jakarta in the form head of transportation agency in DKI Jakarta, Udar Pistono. He is received gratuity from 2010 to 2014 with the total revenue of the 6 billion. The provincial government of Jakarta focused on eradication act of corruption, especially gratuity, and illegal levies. This statement is reinforced by the Jakarta Governor Regulation number 87 of 2014 concerning the gratification control system, strengthened by the issuance of the Jakarta Province Inspector Decree number 21 2015 concerning guideline for the implementation and gratification system, which is the legal umbrella in the establishment of the gratification control unit. Since the existence of the gratification control unit, many Jakarta residents have reported many gratification action. In 2016, Jakarta became the area with the most report, reaching 560 cases. The figure is the above reporting of other provinces. Then to 2017, Jakarta remained the region with the most report compared to the other area, which reached 256 cases. This shows that gratification behavior is still rampant in Jakarta. When seeking economic mechanism in Jakarta province. According to IBC, discovered that there are slip of fund in the planning of regional budget, where this was a difference between the Jakarta provincial government version and the of the planning of the regional budget and the Jakarta member of the parliament function of the planning of the regional budget. Based on data from IBC, the 2015 planning of the regional budget, there was an insertion of the 9.55 trillion for the 275 activity. In addition, the general mechanism of rent-seeking activity can be seen from the pattern carried out in several cases that have permanent legal force. If you look at some of the cases described in the previous subchapter, in the general, there are some similarity in the pattern of the mechanism used by rent seeker to the advantage the development activities in Jakarta. First, at the pre-planning and planning stage of the development activity or policymaking, there will be an informal meeting between the private sector and policymakers, which will discuss the implementation of the development project and the kickback that will be obtained by each party. Second is budgeting for the procurement of goods, and they are not needed by the relevant agencies, but the deliberate okay. The second, budgeting for the procurement of goods and are not needed to relevant agencies, but are deliberated how to take advantage of the procurement of these goods. The third is to do a markup of the price of good. Markup of the price of thing item can also be done in the purchases of goods and services of capital, either the self-management or auction. Fourth, in engineering for auction process. Factor causing rent-seeking economic corruption in Jakarta province. There are four explanations. The first one is cultural influence related to the patron-client and paternalistic culture. The second one, abuse of the power of authority, whether mixing authority or acting arbitrarily. The third one, full asset recording. And the fourth one, desire to self-enrichment. Sector indicated for rent-seeking economy and corruption in Jakarta. According to head of the Intense Learning Center of the Procurement, Goods and Services, therefore include physical work related to education, health, transportation, and public work. Estimated loss economic growth potential in Jakarta province. Methodologically, is referred to Professor Sumitro Jayahadikusumo when he calculate how leakages of the budget of Indonesian budget, how to estimate, he take the ICOR analysis. He compare ICOR of Indonesia and Malaysia, and after that calculated how how much the leakages of the budget of an Indonesian budget. At that time, Professor Sumitro Jayahadikusumo proved that the all leakages in average is 30% of the budget, Indonesian budget. 1640 until 1699. In this one, I refer to methodology of the Professor Sumitro. We can time series of the ICOR 2010 until 2019, and compare with ICOR, average ICOR of Bali, Java and Bali. We can the the leg of the ICOR, and then we calculate how the GDP growth should be and GDP increase should be. Conclusion and suggestion. Jakarta Province government has tried to minimize corruption and rent-seeking activity of Jakarta Province with several innovations such as e-budgeting, musrenbang. This is how all of the stakeholders make the consensus and establishment of the gratification control unit. However, this has not been able to prevent corruption and seeking activities in Jakarta Province. Second one, the existence of the different in rent-seeking pattern also affect the way corruption in Jakarta Province, namely perpetrator of crime are no longer only motivated to enrich themselves, but benefiting of other party or group with corruption, the motivation to get mutual benefit for their gift. In addition, the influence of the Western culture inherent in Indonesian people in data collection, the provincial government said is not good. And the abuse of power of authority causes corruption ranging from gratuity to finding cases that harm of state in large number. The existence of the corruption behavior and rent-seeking activity causes both potential economic growth to be lost, so that impact of the development carried out doesn't have a maximum effect of the economic growth. Suggestion, there are 6 suggestions that that is one factor. I suggest how to reinforce the inspectorate, how to increase supervision in maximize revenue source, etc. It's all, and thank you for your attention.
Yeah, thank you so much, Prof. Didin, for the very interesting presentation. So Yeah, of course, rent-seeking and corruption still our homework. Yeah, so we have to overcome the problem. According to Prof. Didin presentation, we see that the rent-seeking and corruption in Jakarta province causes for three factors. First is cultural, yeah, influence, and then second is power abuse, yeah, and then the third is self-interest, yeah, to enrich themselves, yeah. So it is very unbeneficial for us. Yeah, of course we have to pay the cost. We see that we have a we can see in the I-Core that our operational cost is not efficient. Yeah, so I would like to ask the third presenter, Professor Dr. Bambang Juanda. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Professor Dr. Bambang Juanda. He will present the paper is about the determinant of success of redenomination of rupiah currency. Professor Dr. Bambang Juanda, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mbak Isa. Let me share our paper, our slide. Is there already?
Yeah, Prof.
Yes.
Okay, Mbak Isa, can you see our slide?
Yes, Prof.
Okay. 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 The paper I would like to share with you is determinants of the success of redenomination of rupiah currency. This paper is a collaboration between me and my ex-students here, when they did the master degree in IPB. Yeah, they are Andika Pambudi, Danti Astrini, Falihah Nurbaiti, and Nur Siti Anaza. As we know that redenomination came up in 2010, yeah, when Bank of Indonesia governor at the time, Pak Darmin Nasution, announced that BI plan to redenominate rupiah currency up to 3 digits. Yeah. And last year in 2020, the submissions of the bills on changes on the value of rupiah, rancangan undang-undang perubahan harga rupiah, to the midterm national legislation programs, yeah, we call it Prolegnas, from 2020 to 2024. So, as we know that redenomination is different to centerings, yeah, because redenomination is a simplification of the nominal value of a currency by reducing digits, yeah, reducing zero numbers without reducing the real value of the currency. We can illustrate about this redenomination. Yeah, this is the currency, yeah, of Indonesia, yeah, with the denomination of 100,000 rupiahs, and then this is the goods with the price of 65,500 rupiahs. Yeah, and then after the denomination policies, we will have new rupiahs. Yeah, then the denominations of 100. Yeah, and then the price of goods, yeah, can be increase or constant or decrease. Yeah, it depends on the behavior of economic agents. Let's say maybe for sellers, yeah, they can increase the price because maybe if we see the price of rice about 65 is very cheaper, and then they can increase the price. but this is because of the money illusion. We will discuss further about this money illusion. Rupiah's currencies is the one of the largest denomination of monies, yeah, because the rupiahs of Indonesia, yeah, the denomination of the rupiahs of Indonesia is 100,000, yeah, and then the exchange rates, yeah, we have the exchange rate is around 14,000 rupiahs per US dollars, yeah. Some economists said that this phenomena came from that the countries has experienced poor economic fundamentals, yeah, like mostly said in 2005, yeah. You know that before its independence of Indonesia, the exchange rate of our currency, it's around 1.8 rupiahs per US dollar, but now it becomes 14,000 rupiahs per US dollars, yeah. So this has implications that people maybe prefer to have foreign currency, and also another implication that the government's credibility in setting monetary or fiscal policy can be reduced. Yeah. And based on the hypothesis, yeah, formulated by Mosley, it is mentioned that there are three reasons, yeah, why a country redenominates its currency. Yeah. Firstly, stopping or eliminating a high inflation rates. Yeah. Secondly, economic stabilization, and the third, improving the currency credibility. Redenomination may facilitate the credibility of the rupiah compared to other countries' currency in areas that will further build public pride in the rupiah's currency. The failure and the success of redenomination policies are influenced by economic condition factors at a time when the country is implementing a redenomination policy. 55 countries have redenominated. Some of them result in success and some result in failure. One of the indicators of the redenomination application success is the inflation. Success is the inflation rate after the redenomination being applied. Yeah. So it will be considered a failure if a high inflation or hyperinflation happens after implementation. The indicator of success redenominations can be seen from the level of low inflation and high economic growth after redenomination policy is applied. And if we see from the experience of some countries who has redenominated their currency, for instance, Poland, Romania, and Turkey, yeah, they has redenominated their currency successfully. Yeah. Poland removed 4 zeros in 1995. Romania removed 4 zeros in 2005. Turkey removed 6 digits in 2005. Yeah. You can see that some of countries, yeah, the reasons they implement redenomination because high inflation. Yeah, high inflation is the reason for a country to redenomination. Yeah, like Moses said in their publications. Lower and stable inflation is one of the indicators that show the success of redenomination. You can see here the inflation rates decrease, and also here the redenomination, after redenomination, the inflation rates decrease. Yeah. So the inflation rate decrease after redenomination is the indicator of the success of redenomination. And we can see other experience of Brazil and Argentina. Yeah, Brazil removed 18 zeros, 18 digits in six stages. Yeah, in 1967 and 1970 until 1994. Yeah? And Argentina removed 13 zeros, yeah, 13 digits, yeah, in 4 stages. Yeah, and you can see, yeah, maybe in the first stages, yeah, in the second, yeah, so they can't experience a failure. But in the finals, yeah, finally, the inflation rate decreased after the redenomination policy was implemented. You can see here, this is the last redenomination and the inflation rate decreased. And also here, yeah, after the last redenomination policy, the inflation rate decreased also. And their experience of some countries who fails in implementing the redenominations, yeah, such as Congo and Zimbabwe. Yeah, you can see here after redenominations, the inflation rate increased, and also here for Zimbabwe after the redenominations, yeah, the inflation rate increased as well. So there are negative effects, yeah, for the redenominations, yeah. The people's misperceptions of centerings, yeah, like we faced in 1950 and 1959. So this misperception of centerings, yeah, will cause our purchasing power decrease, yeah, and this can imply a state of panic, yeah, which result in economic turmoil or social effects in terms of public distrust of rupiah. And then it increased companies and banking operational expenses because they must replace their information and technology systems, yeah, and of course they need some time of adjustments, yeah. And also Bank of Indonesia spend high expenses to issue new money, new currency, and public disseminations, yeah. And also this policy can reduce consumption due to the fear of inflation, causing people to shift it to holding goods, especially those whose value is resistant to inflation. Yeah. And also there is the effect of psychological bias. Yeah, we call it money illusions, and this effect can be positive and can be negative. Yeah. For instance, good price can be cheaper. Yeah, because you can imagine. Yeah, in the old currency, the price, let's say 2,000 rupees, but in the new currency after redenominations, yeah, the price only 7 rupees, yeah, in Europe, in new currencies. Yeah. And then of course, yeah, because they perceive this these goods become cheaper, yeah, the willingness to pay, yeah, their willingness to pay can increase. Yeah. And this because of this, that producers, yeah, will round up the price, yeah, to consumer tolerated limits, yeah. So from these money illusions, yeah, the redenomination can increase consumption, or also can reduce consumption due to the fear of inflation, yeah, forcing people to shift it to holding, especially those whose value is resistant to inflation. So. The main objective of this research was to examine when whether the economic condition at the time of redenomination may affect the success of currency redenominations. Yeah, they are to research objective, and also they are to kind of approach for to achieve this objective. Yeah, firstly, to analyze the impacts of rupiah redenomination policy on the behavior of economic agents like seller and buyers, and then we will investigate further to see the economic performance. Yeah, so this objective will be investigated by experimental approach. Yeah, and secondly, is to identify factors determine the success of redenomination policy by econometric modeling. So, firstly, by experimental approach. This research has investigated six factors, yeah, such as inflation, economic growth, yeah, omission of the number of zeros, and then redenomination states, transition period, and also type of goods. Yeah. So, but in these papers, yeah, we will discuss only some response, or in this case, only change in transaction price, and also only some factors are discussed in detail here. Yeah. So from these 6 factors, yeah, there are 64 treatment combinations. Yeah, and the treatment of low growth conditions use six experimental subjects. Yeah, we use students, and the condition of high economic growth use 10 experimental subjects. So these experiments requires around 500 experimental subjects or students. So this study use a factorial randomized blocks design. So the response variables we will discuss is transaction price change, and this is we can use as a proxy of inflation. Yeah. And for efficiency, students conducted the experiment 3 times, yeah, and 500 students were randomly assigned to the 60 for arrangement in every replications. The detailed experimental simulation procedures, including instruction and decision sheets of seller and buyer, can be seen in my books. Yeah, this book will be published by Gramedia. Just promotion. So how is the result? How is the results using experimental designs? Yeah. So we will see the effect of redenomination in different inflation conditions. So you can see that when inflation is low, the redenomination will reduce transaction price by minus 0.8%. Yeah? You see here, yeah. So when inflation is low, the redenomination will reduce transaction price. Yeah. So it implies that when we implement redenomination, so that should be in the condition of low inflation. And the ideal combination of condition for a redenomination policy is when inflation is low and economic growth is high. You can see here, yeah, high economic growth and low inflation here can reduce the price by minus 1.7%. Yeah. And when we see, yeah, when we redenominate our currency, yeah, whether 3 digits or 4 digits, yeah, we can see from the result of our experience, of our experiments, yeah, that if carried out at a time of low inflation, yeah, removing 3 or 4 zeros, yeah, would result in decrease in price, yeah, in the condition of low inflation. Yeah, this is the interaction between these two factors. Yeah, the factors of inflation and reducing the number of digits. Yeah, and if the redenomination policy directly eliminates 4 zeros one step at times or is gradually removed twice, yeah. So the result is the same as resulting in decrease in price. Yeah. So if if we eliminate, yeah, for digits, so should be at one step at a time because the price will decrease around minus 1.1. And what's about the effect of redenomination in different economic growth conditions? Yeah? So from these figures, we can see that when economic growth is high, yeah, when economic growth is high, the redenomination policy will reduce transaction price by minus 0.69%. Yeah. And then also the redenomination policy directly eliminates 4 zeros one step at a time in high growth of growth condition. It will result in a decreased price. Yeah. So also the transition period we need when the redenomination policy implemented. Yeah. And also the type of good also affect the result of redenomination policies. So when we use this econometric modelings, yeah, okay, because the time limitations, yeah, we divided some countries into the success country and the failed country, and then after estimating the models, yeah, so we can we can conclude that countries with low inflation conditions, yeah, less than 10%, tended to have lower inflation. The higher the economic growth, the lower the inflation rates will be after redenominations. And the more money is circulating, the inflation rate tends to increase, and the level of democration has a tendency to affect the success of redenomination. So this is the conclusion and recommendation that the ideal combination of condition for redenomination is low inflation and high economic growth. And there need to be transition periods, yeah. And also suppose the redenomination policy will eliminate 4 zeros, preferably do it in one step at times, yeah. Socialization of course is needed from the government, yeah, regarding the redenomination policy. And of course, the availability of cents or coin must be fulfilled by governments. I think that's all, but Esa, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Prof. Bambang Juanda. It is very interesting presentation. As we know that redenomination rupiah currency is old issue, yeah, an old issue, but it is still be interesting to be discussed, yeah, because if we would implement the redenomination of rupiah currency, can we success or not, yeah. Of course, we hope that if we implement the redenomination of rupiah currency in Indonesia, we can decrease our inflation rate and we can also achieve the high economic growth. So in the chatting room, we have three, yeah, many questions. First, one question for mass media, and then two questions for Prof. Didin, and two questions also for Prof. Bambang Juanda. The first for mass media, it is a technical question, yeah. In financial literacy and poverty paper, what are the set of simultaneous equations and which are endogenous and exogenous variables? Is it GLS estimator or not? Yeah, the question from Somes Matur. And then the second participant from Dela Casasis, yeah, to Dela Casasis asks the email address, sorry. And then the question from Mas Zulfan, this question for Prof. Didin. In the comparative perspective, how would you assess the risks of corruption and rent-seeking in Jakarta, the richest province in the country, between the governorship of Jokowi Ahok and Anies Baswedan? Yeah, this is the first question for Prof. Didin. And then Muhammad Fikri Ramadan also asks the link of paper. And the second question for Prof. Didin from Mas Hafid, yeah, Pak Hafid. I'm interested in Prof. Didin case of Jakarta. We know about the high complaints to local government of Jakarta. As we can see, people of Jakarta are accused for complaining as there are places or media to do so. So how will the research be learned from other provinces? Will there be any different suggestion from the cases in Jakarta? Yeah, these two questions for Prof. Didin. And then the third question for Prof. Didin, but Prof. Didin already answered it, yeah? It's about institutional, how to minimize the rent-seeking and corruption in Jakarta. And Prof. Bambang Juanda also has two questions from the participant. First, from Muhammad Bahra Ampera to Prof. Bambang, one redenomination. What is your observation on the current pandemic condition? Yeah, so we relate the redenomination with the pandemic condition. Yeah. And then should we introduce the policy now when the demand and supply are low? And then another question from Dewi Lestuti Ambarwati, yeah. in the suggestion for combating corruption, it is said we have to fix the system to reduce corruption. So I think this is for Prof. Didin, yeah. But are there any change or improvement in the school curriculum that we have to study about anti-corruption as soon as we are entering school? Yeah. So Prof. Bambang, and then Prof. Didin, and mass media, the floor is yours. I think I would like to give mass media first, and then Prof. Didin and Prof. Bambang. Please, welcome.
Thank you, Baisa. Thank you for the good question. Before I answer which are the endogenous variables, I would like to emphasize that it is always a problem of endogeneity in this case, just like other socioeconomic examination. So, for example, when we estimate the link between financial literacy and poverty, there is a problem of reverse causality, because we know that financial literacy affect poverty, but at the same time, we cannot avoid the fact that when you are poor, you cannot be financially literate, something like that. So there is a problem of reverse causality in this case. So because of this, I think the main method to solve this problem is using IV. But again, IV is not 100% correct sometimes, because it is always difficult to find the instrument. So in this research, I use the simultaneous equation. So by using simultaneous equation model, we estimate all the endogenous variable together. So to answer your question, the endogenous variable in this case is financial literacy for sure, and poverty, and all the three main channels. So I've got 5 different equations. With the first question is the poverty regression. The next 3 are the channels equations, and the last one is the financial literacy equation. So we estimate all the variables together in the system. So by doing so, we are able to address the endogeneity problem, and we can calculate them together. So we know the indirect effect. What are the impact of financial literacy on saving, over indebtedness, and so on and so forth, and what are the impact of each channels on poverty, something like that. I hope this can answer all your questions. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, mass media. And then Prof. Didin, please.
Thank you for your comment. It is interesting how to compare the result of the reduction of the corruption between Anies and Ahok. I don't know exactly, because there are no research in this case. But if one indicator important, I think related to the CPI, that's the 2080 is more progress significantly. And at that time is a period of the Anies, because before the CPI of the Jakarta is 50. 50, and then the period of the 2090 is 70. It is the progress of, significantly. The second one is how compare the suggestion Jakarta and another region. I have the two research compare with Jakarta is Banten and Pandeglang. Banten is province and Pandeglang is kabupaten region. How we can call the kabupaten? Is I think in general the characteristic of the corruption in the regional government is nearly same in the same characteristic. The corruption related to the behavior of the culture behavior. There are many acts of the patron client relationship or paternalistic. In Banten, for example, and Jakarta is nearly same in the character of the cultural explanation. And then another type is related. Corruption is related to the abuse of power. Abuse of power. I think it's nearly same character in the region. Both Jakarta and Banten and Pandeglang. And another explanation, the third explanation goes of the how the corruption in regional government related to the self-enrichment. It is there in Jakarta, in Banten, and in Pandeglang. It the same character. I think in general, the three explanation is significant in three into the region. And then my opinion about the education of anti-corruption in the high school or university. I think in the context of the how to construct of the character anti-corruption, it is very important in the level of the education, even in the level of the basic education until the university. In IPB, for example, during the period of the rector of the Arif Satya, there are the many discussion, many discussion KPK and the Senate, the lecture and the student body. That's all. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Prof. Didin. So we come to Prof. Bambang Juanda, please. The floor
Yes.
is yours.
Baik, thank you very much, Mbak Esa. Yeah, there are three questions here for me. The first one is about the terminology. Yeah, Pak Somes asked about does removing higher denomination money same as redenominations. Yeah, so this is not a redenominations. Yeah, I remember when in 2016, yeah, Bank of Indonesia asked me to investigate the effect of denominations. Yeah, because there is an issue that Bank of Indonesia will print the denomination of 200 rupiahs at the times, yeah, in 1960. So this is the terminology difference with the denominations, yeah, because they will print or removing the denomination currency, okay. And the second one, so from Pafikri, yeah, from Pafikri, yeah. Suppose that after redenomination we maintain low inflation, but our economic growth remains around 5%. So does that mean our redenomination effort fails? No. As I said, that the indicator of the success of redenominations is low inflation and high growth. So if the inflation stables or we can maintain low inflation and also the economic growth remains around 5%, yeah, like before pandemic. So this is not failed, but this is one of the success of redenominations. Yeah. And the third one, yeah, Pak Bara, yeah, Pak Bara asked me about how about in the pandemic of COVID, yeah, should we do a redenomination or not? So, of course, yeah, if we see from the indicator of our inflation rate, so I think this is we can redeterminate. But if we see from the viewpoints economic growth, yeah, because we still face the negative economic growth, yeah. So I don't think to suggest the redetermination policy in the pandemic periods, yeah, because maybe many, especially from political party of the government of opposition, will misperceive about this policy. So we will wait, yeah, until the COVID fade away, yeah, or the COVID will not stay with us again, yeah. So I think that's all, yeah, Mbak Eva. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Bambang Juanda. Yeah, very nice answer from mass media, Prof. Didin and Prof. Bambang Juanda. So, ladies and gentlemen, finally we come to the end of presentation. We would like to say thanks again for all the presenters for their informative and interesting presentation, and to the participants for your active participation. Yeah. So hopefully the presentation will be beneficial for everyone. So thank you very much for your attention and good afternoon. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I will
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
this to the committee again.
Okay.
Thank you. Ask me to leave.
Afternoon, Prof. Didin.